Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first Anthropic's Claude AI clones a $5 billion SaaS product in under an hour, threatening Silicon Valley's software giants. We'll explore how this good enough software trend could transform enterprise business models and create massive shadow AI security risks. Second $800 billion was wiped from software stocks in a Software-mageddon as AI disruption fears triggered the worst sell-off since 2002. We'll analyse why this AI-driven market panic is a turning point and how it could affect the fundamental value of major tech companies. Third Valve delays its Steam Machine launch due to an AI-driven memory shortage, signalling an AI tax on consumer hardware. We'll examine how this global HBM memory crunch may impact future consumer product roadmaps and gaming hardware pricing. Fourth, Pinterest fires 2 engineers for scripting a tool to track layoffs, sparking a debate on corporate secrecy and digital protest. So we'll discuss why this clash over transparency matters and what it means for the power dynamics in AI-driven workplaces. Fifth, a YouTuber's $3 million indie film grosses over $21 million using a fan-forced distribution model to bypass the Hollywood studio system. In this episode, we'll break down this critical development and what it signals for the future of entertainment ecosystems and creator-led businesses. Let's start with a single story that might just change your entire perspective on the software industry. A $5 billion company just had its core product cloned by 2 total beginners in under an hour for less than $15. Journalists with zero coding experience used an AI tool from Anthropic called Claude Code. Using a technique they called vibe coding, they gave it a simple command in plain English: build a project management platform similar to Monday.com. In minutes, it spit out a working prototype. So the thing is, we're entering what some are calling the good enough software economy. For small teams or specific internal tasks, a cheap, custom-built AI tool can be much more appealing than a polished, high-cost platform. This is significant because companies like the finance giant Klarna have already started replacing some of their commercial software with custom AI tools built in-house, reporting that they are 10 times cheaper to run. This experiment shows that barrier to entry is now effectively zero. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point came next. They told the AI to research Monday.com on its own, identify its main features, and simply recreate them. The AI did, even adding a calendar. The real magic happened when they connected the clone to a personal email account. The AI found a forgotten calendar invite for a kid's birthday party and started adding reminders for booking tickets and signing waivers. Now, the script calls this magic, but in a corporate setting, this is a CIO's nightmare. Now, get this. This is a perfect example of what experts are calling shadow AI, when employees create data handling applications without any IT oversight. A recent report from Netscope Threat Labs found the incidence of sensitive data being shared with AI tools have more than doubled in the past year, with the average organisation seeing over 200 such incidents every month. Actually, there's a hidden debt to this kind of vibe coding. A recent study from Veracode found that about 45% of all AI-generated code contains security vulnerabilities. So while it's amazing to build a prototype in an hour, we could be creating a new wave of fragile, insecure, and unmanageable software that's flying completely under the radar. This single experiment is sending a shockwave through the software industry. And it all points to one question: who's next on the chopping block? According to Silicon Valley insiders, the most exposed companies are the ones that sit on top of the work. Think tools like Atlassian, Adobe, HubSpot, and Smartsheet. These are seen as the nice-to-haves that aren't core to a business's operations. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. These companies aren't just sitting back and waiting to be replaced. They are pivoting to become platforms themselves. Atlassian, for example, just launched Rovo, an AI assistant that lets users, even non-developers, build their own custom AI agents within the Atlassian ecosystem. They are essentially trying to capture the value of vibe coding instead of being replaced by it. So who's safe? Experts say systems of record, like Salesforce, are harder to disrupt because they anchor a business with enterprise data. Cybersecurity stocks like CrowdStrike and Palo Alto are also considered more resilient. The new competitive advantage, or moat, is changing. It's no longer just about features. The new moat is owning a proprietary data layer, building a massive ecosystem of integrations, and providing a level of security that a quick AI clone can't guarantee. For example, Salesforce's App Exchange allows thousands of other developers to build tools on top of its platform, creating a sticky ecosystem that's incredibly difficult to leave. This is how they stay essential. As AI coding tools get cheaper and more powerful, this experiment has drawn a clear battle line in the tech world, separating the essential need to have software from the nice to haves that could soon be built by anyone for almost nothing. We were just talking about AI's ability to clone software for practically nothing, and that very threat is now causing a full-blown panic on Wall Street. A term is being thrown around right now, Software-mageddon. In just 1 week, the S&P 500 software index plunged 13%, wiping out more than $800 billion in market value. This isn't just a minor dip. For software stocks, this is the worst 3-month performance since May 2002 during the dot-com bubble fallout. The irony is the very thing that was supposed to be the industry's next rocket, fuel artificial intelligence, is now the source of intense anxiety. Advancing AI agents are moving from demos into workflows, and that shift is now being priced as a direct hit to software demand and margins. What's interesting is that this comparison to 2002 is both accurate and, in a way, misleading. Back then, the bubble burst on companies that were mostly hype with no profits. Today, we're talking about established, profitable giants. This isn't a correction of speculative froth. It's the market repricing the fundamental value of these businesses, suggesting their entire model is at risk. That risk centers on AI colliding with the per seat, per user model that made these firms so valuable. One chief investment officer called the sell-off a manifestation of an awakening to the disruptive power of AI, stating bluntly, the threat is real and valuations must account for that. The situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, big software companies have long been protected by moats like customer lock-in and proprietary data. On the other, the market is realizing that AI is draining those moats. We're already seeing it happen. A company like Klarna, the payments giant, recently replaced around 1,200 of its software as a service tools, including Salesforce, with its own internal AI platform. The castle walls are coming down, and this isn't about small startups failing. Behemoth companies like Intuit, ServiceNow, and Oracle are seeing sharp falls. Microsoft is now the worst performing stock this year among the Magnificent 7 megacaps. The trigger for the latest volatility was, believe it or not, that same new tool from Anthropic's Claude, which sent a shockwave through the market. So what's so special about Claude? It's not just another chatbot. The latest enterprise version has a 1 million token context window. To put that in perspective, it can ingest and understand an entire massive code base or thousands of pages of legal documents at once. Suddenly, a single AI model can perform complex tasks like IT issue resolution or code migration, the very core functions that companies like ServiceNow were built to do. The AI isn't just a tool anymore, it's becoming a direct competitor. And if you think this is a clear buying opportunity, you might want to pause. While some investors are doing modest buying, many are staying on the sidelines. One portfolio manager said he is not yet prepared to become a buyer, stating he is not comfortable that they have reached a level where the worst threat is priced in. That threat is so hard to price because of something experts are calling the AI dumb pipe risk. The fear is that if these software companies just integrate a powerful AI like Claude or GPT into their products, they become nothing more than a fancy wrapper. All the real value and all the profit gets captured by the AI provider, while the software company becomes a commoditized, low-value pipe. It's the same dilemma the big telecom companies faced when the internet took off. This isn't just a tech problem, it's a market-wide rotation. Investors are shedding tech holdings and moving into other sectors. As one strategist at Invesco noted, the market is signaling less confidence in future software sales in an AI-driven world, warning that selling can beget more selling. The market has sent a clear and brutal signal. For the established giants of the software industry, the AI revolution is no longer a guaranteed gold rush. It's now being priced as a potential extinction level event. So while AI is wreaking havoc on software valuations, its physical appetite is causing a completely different kind of crisis in the hardware world. Valve just sent a shockwave through the gaming community. Its highly anticipated Steam Machine, Steam Frame, and Steam Controller are all officially delayed, with a warning that prices will be higher than promised. The culprit is a devastating global memory and storage crunch, and here's where it gets interesting. The rapid expansion of AI infrastructure has created an almost insatiable hunger for a specific type of memory called high bandwidth memory, or HBM. It's what powers the massive servers training today's AI models. The problem is, companies like Samsung and SK Hynix are shifting production away from standard consumer-grade DDR5 memory to make more of this highly profitable HBM. PC gamers have already seen the price of RAM triple, even quadruple, as memory makers pour their supply into the more profitable AI server realm. This crisis has now hit Valve's biggest launch in years. The sheer scale of this shift is staggering. Believe it or not, analysts are projecting that AI data centers could consume up to 70% of the entire global memory chip supply by 2026. We've previously called this the AI tax, the idea that hyperscale demand pushes up component costs across the board, and it's now arriving on our doorsteps as delays and price hikes. This isn't a small-scale issue. It's a massive structural realignment of the entire semiconductor industry. This completely upends Valve's original game plan. For those who remember, this feels a bit like history repeating itself. Valve's first attempt at Steam machines in 2015 was a commercial failure, partly due to high prices. While they learnt a lot from that and had a huge success with the portable Steam Deck, this new crisis puts them in a dangerously similar position. When the hardware was revealed, the biggest question was whether it could compete with game consoles on price. When we place Valve's business model alongside Sony's or Microsoft's, the challenge becomes clear. Companies like Sony and Microsoft use a razor and blade model, often selling consoles at a loss and making money on games. Valve prices its hardware to reflect its actual cost, which is a tough stance when the AI tax is driving that cost through the roof. Valve had positioned the new Steam machine as an entry-level PC competitor and aimed for the Steam Frame VR headset to cost less than its previous $999 index headset. This is particularly damaging for the already fragile VR market. We're seeing sales decline, and even Meta, which heavily subsidizes its Quest headsets, has internally signaled plans to raise prices. With component costs soaring, those competitive price targets are now in serious jeopardy. In a new public post, Valve admits it has to revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing, stating it has work to do to land on concrete numbers. The warning signs were there. Valve had previously told reporters that pricing the console was tough because memory prices are going up like right as we speak. The delay pushes the launch into the first half of the year, but the real story is the cost. Valve's ambitious goal was to bring high-end PC gaming to the living room at an accessible price. Now, a component crisis completely out of its control is forcing a reset. And if a giant like Valve is struggling this much to secure parts, it signals that the era of affordable enthusiast PC gaming could be at risk. The price floor for high-performance components may be permanently rising. Speaking of companies navigating tough strategic decisions, the internal fallout from these choices can get messy. Over at Pinterest, things just got very public. 2 engineers wrote a piece of code to find out which of their colleagues were being laid off, and the company immediately fired them for it. This all started when Pinterest announced it was cutting about 700 jobs, 15% of its workforce, but didn't say who. So 2 engineers built a script that improperly accessed confidential company information, tracking in real time which employee names were being deactivated from internal tools like Slack. When Pinterest found out, it terminated them on the spot, citing a clear violation of Pinterest policy and of their former colleagues' privacy. But let's pause on that word, privacy. Interestingly enough, the company's justification raises a huge question. Who is this privacy really for? Is it to protect the laid-off employees or to protect the company from scrutiny? Often, employers use privacy policies to control the flow of information during a crisis. And in the US, legal precedent often sides with employers, reinforcing the idea that employees have a very limited expectation of privacy when using company systems. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. The stated reason for the mass layoff, CEO Bill Reddy said in an email that Pinterest was doubling down on an AI-forward approach. Now, an AI-forward approach sounds futuristic, right? But is this a genuine pivot, or is AI just the new corporate buzzword for old-fashioned cost-cutting? After all, we're seeing this across the industry. At the World Economic Forum, top executives told Reuters that AI would be used as an excuse by companies already planning to cut jobs, and a study found that 69% of employees agree. In a securities filing, Pinterest even noted it expects to take a hit of up to $45 million from this restructuring. It's a convenient narrative. This isn't just a story about two engineers. It's a snapshot of a massive power struggle happening across the tech industry, where automation and secrecy are colliding with employee uncertainty. Checking internal tools to see who has suddenly disappeared is a common, if unofficial, way workers find out about layoffs. The Pinterest incident just brought this underground practice into the spotlight. These internal tools like Slack were built for collaboration, but in an era of mass layoffs and declining trust, they're becoming a new kind of battleground. This is creating a cat and mouse game between IT security, trying to lock things down, and anxious employees trying to find out what's going on. Some research even shows that nearly 90% of employees take company data with them when they leave a job. So companies are now hardening their own systems against their own people. And this is happening everywhere. In the same week, Amazon cut 16,000 roles. Meta, Google, and Microsoft have also laid off huge numbers of employees, according to Layoffs. For your information, an estimated 700,000 people have been laid off in tech over the last 4 years. The actions of these two engineers, whether you agree with them or not, fit into a growing history of tech worker resistance. This isn't a public protest or a walkout. It's a new, more subtle form of digital protest, scripting for transparency, where engineers use the very skills they were hired for to challenge their employers. It signals a major shift in the relationship between tech companies and their most skilled workers. That story highlights a power struggle inside the corporate world. But our final piece of news is about a creator who's challenging the power structure of an entire industry. A movie made for just $3 million just exploded at the box office, raking in over $20 million. The most unexpected part of this story has to be this. It wasn't backed by a major Hollywood studio. It was written, directed, and self-funded by a YouTube star, Markiplier. This isn't just a movie project. It's a blueprint for what some are calling the creator as a vertically integrated studio. Think about it. Markiplier controlled everything from adapting the intellectual property of the game to funding the production to marketing and distribution. It's a model that mirrors what other top creators like MrBeast are doing, proving that a direct line to an audience is the ultimate business advantage. The film Iron Lung is an adaptation of a niche indie horror game. At a time when theaters are dominated by blockbusters, it managed to land on more than 3,000 screens without a traditional distributor. What really brought this to a head was the fan-forced distribution model. Instead of a studio spending millions to convince theaters to show a film, Markiplier's team activated his nearly 40 million YouTube subscribers to ask theaters to screen the movie. The response was so massive, Markiplier himself said, people thought it was bots. The pre-sales alone topped $7 million before the movie even opened. Now, let's talk about the money. A traditional studio might have a production budget of $200 million and then spend another $150 million on marketing. Markiplier's built-in audience acts as a marketing engine that would be worth a fortune in traditional ad spend, but it was essentially free. This is how a $3 million movie can get on over 4,100 screens worldwide. The result was a second-place finish at the US box office, putting it ahead of an expensive Amazon production and just behind a new Sam Raimi film from 20th Century Studios. To be clear, the film's global opening weekend brought in $21.7 million. That's more than 7 times its tiny production budget, a return on investment that studio executives can only dream of. And if you think the story is about the movie's quality, you're missing the bigger picture. Critics called the film itself mostly forgettable, but its financial triumph is an unqualified success. So what's the real endgame here? Markiplier stated he wanted to break the stigma against YouTube in Hollywood, and this project was designed to do just that. That stigma is very real. In Hollywood, there have long been concerns about the production quality of creator-led projects and a general clash with the traditional studio system. This project was a stress test for all those assumptions, and the sheer return on investment proves that the old ways of thinking may no longer apply. While other YouTubers have made it to Hollywood, they've often had studio backing. This was different. This was a grassroots operation that proved a massive online audience can directly compete with and beat the most established players in entertainment. It also creates a whole new pipeline for intellectual property. The original indie game developer worked directly on the film, ensuring a faithful adaptation and likely a much better financial outcome. The Iron Lung story isn't just about a movie. It's a signal that the power dynamic between creators and Hollywood has fundamentally and perhaps permanently changed.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.